Love Like One, a gift basket of endless devotion. 10 years ago, the autumn rain turned the schoolyard into a wasteland of mud and cruelty. I knelt in the center of it, my uniform the one I'd hand-washed every night for 3 weeks, submerged in the deepest puddle. Around me, a circle of girls laughed. Their uniforms were pristine, designer shoes safely on dry concrete. "She smells like cabbage," one said. "Check her bag. I bet there's moldy bread again." I didn't fight back. Fighting back meant the principal's office, meant foster dad taking time off the construction site, meant no dinner because we'd spent the grocery money on taxi fare. Weakness was survival. Then expensive leather shoes stepped into the mud. I looked up. The boy was maybe 17, tall and immaculate in a way that seemed impossible. His features were so refined they didn't look real sharp jawline, eyes like dark water, the kind of face that belonged in magazines. Not rescuing pathetic scholarship students. The girls scattered immediately. Someone whispered, "Lancaster," like a prayer. He didn't offer his hand, just looked down at me with something between disgust and pity. Weakness is also a form of enabling evil. Then he walked away, mud streaking his $1,000 shoes. The next day, the bullying stopped. The day after that, I learned his name. Ethan Lancaster, student council president, heir to Lancaster Industries, untouchable. And I became the girl who watched him from a distance, believing that someone who noticed me once might notice me again. Part 1. The Long Con. Chapter 1. 3 months before. Sign here. And here. Initial the margin. I pushed the contract across my father's mahogany desk, pointing to the highlighted sections. Marcus Ashford, CEO. Patriarch, the man who'd spent 10 years searching for me only to treat me like an efficient assistant. Didn't even read it. "Stella could have handled this," he said. My half-sister Stella lounged on the office sofa, scrolling through her phone. At 22, she'd perfected the art of looking delicate. Cream, cashmere, cardigan, pearl earrings, the kind of ethereal beauty that made people want to protect her. She glanced up, smiling sweetly. "Dad, I wouldn't understand all those complicated clauses. Ivy's so much smarter at business." Translation. Let Ivy do the work while I take the credit. I kept my face neutral. 6 years of this. 6 years of coming home to the Ashford mansion at 16, believing I'd finally found where I belonged, only to discover I'd been cast as the understudy in Stella's life. "The Patterson merger needs these amendments before Friday," I said. "Otherwise, we lose the favorable terms." Marcus signed without looking. "Fine. Make sure it's done right. No praise." No acknowledgement that I'd spent 70 hours last week renegotiating terms that would save Ashford Corporation $8 million. But that was fine. I only needed to endure 3 more months. Then I'd be engaged to Ethan Lancaster, and none of this would matter. My phone buzzed as I left the office. "Ethan, dinner? 7 p.m., Marcello's." My heart still jumped. After 6 years, pathetic how easily those 12 characters could make my entire day. Me, perfect. "I'll book the private room you like. Ethan." Stella mentioned she wanted to try Marcello's. "Bring her." My fingers froze over the screen. 3 months ago, this wouldn't have bothered me. Ethan was considerate, like that thoughtful of everyone. But lately, Stella had been appearing in more of our plans. Dinners, charity galas. Even the engagement party planning, where she'd insisted on helping by offering opinions that contradicted mine at every turn. Me, sure, I'll let her know. I found Stella in the hallway, already waiting. "Ethan invited us to dinner," I said carefully. Her smile was radiant. "I know, he texted me first." Something cold slithered down my spine. Chapter 2. The First Crack. Marcello's was the kind of Italian restaurant where senators proposed and CEOs made backroom deals. Ethan was already there, standing when we arrived ever the gentleman. He kissed my cheek. Brief, perfunctory. Then he pulled out Stella's chair first. "You look lovely," he told her. "That dress is stunning." Stella blushed prettily. Ivy helped me pick it. I hadn't. Throughout dinner, I watched. The way Ethan laughed at Stella's stories, the same stories I'd heard her rehearse for hours, the way his attention drifted to her whenever she spoke, the way he refilled her wine before mine. Small things. Probably meaningless things. But I'd spent 6 years cataloging Ethan's every gesture, learning to read him like a language only I spoke. And tonight, that language was saying something I didn't want to translate. "Ivy, You okay? I realized they'd both been staring at me. I'd been gripping my fork hard enough to leave marks in my palm. Fine. Just tired from the Patterson merger. Ethan's expression shifted, that subtle tightening around his eyes that meant disappointment. You're always working. Stella was telling me about the engagement party venues. She's visited 5 this week while you've been at the office. Guilt twisted in my chest. I'm sorry. I'll make time. It's okay, Stella interrupted gently, touching Ethan's arm. Ivy works so hard for the family. I don't mind helping with the wedding planning. She smiled at me. That's what sisters do. The table fell silent. Wedding planning, for MY wedding. And somehow Stella had positioned herself as the thoughtful one, while I looked like I didn't care. The Patterson merger was time-sensitive, I said, hating how defensive I sounded. Once it's finalized, I'll have more time for... It's always something time-sensitive with you. Ethan's voice was cool. Maybe that's the problem. The problem, like my working 70-hour weeks to prove myself worthy, was a character flaw. Like 6 years of transforming myself from a lost girl who didn't know which fork to use into someone who could run Ashford Corporation wasn't enough. I excused myself to the bathroom, needing air. Inside, I braced against the marble sink, staring at my reflection. Designer dress, professional makeup, hair in the elegant updo Ethan preferred. I'd crafted this person carefully, piece by piece, to be someone he could love. The bathroom door opened. Stella, are you crying? She appeared beside me, expression concerned. No, Ivy. She touched my shoulder. I know tonight was awkward, but you have to understand Ethan, and I have gotten close while you've been busy. He needs someone who can be there for him emotionally. Ice flooded my veins. What are you saying? Nothing. Her smile turned pitying. Just that maybe you should think about what Ethan really needs, and whether you can give it to him. She left. I stared at my reflection, and for the first time in 6 years, I didn't recognize the girl looking back. Chapter 3. The Setup. The engagement party was 63 days away. I knew because I'd been counting since Ethan proposed a quiet affair at his family's estate, the ring his grandmother's heirloom, the moment I'd dreamed of since I was 16 years old. But now, standing in the Ashford Corporation conference room reviewing Q3 projections, that memory felt strangely distant. Ivy, you're not listening. I looked up. Joyce, my assistant, and the closest thing I had to a friend, was frowning at me across the table. Sorry. What did you say? I said your mother called 3 times. Something about the engagement announcement. My stomach tightened. I'll call her back. But I didn't have to. Victoria Sterling Ashford swept into the conference room moments later, all elegance and barely contained irritation. We need to talk. Privately. Joyce gathered her things quickly. I waited until the door closed. Mom, I'm in the middle of the engagement announcement. Victoria placed a printed draft on the table. We need to revise the wording. I scanned the document. Everything looked standard until I reached the second paragraph. The Ashford and Lancaster families are delighted to announce the engagement of Ethan Lancaster to the eldest daughter of the Ashford family. You didn't use my name. It sounds more formal this way. Or you want ambiguity. The realization hit like cold water. You want people to wonder which daughter. Victoria's expression didn't change. Ivy, don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic. You deliberately wrote it so it could apply to either Stella or me. Both are our daughters. Why does it matter which? Because I'm the one marrying him. My voice cracked. Mom, why are you doing this? For a moment, something flickered across her face. Guilt? Regret? Then her expression hardened. Fine, we'll specify your name. But Ivy. She leaned closer. You need to be realistic. You've been so focused on that merger, so focused on work. Are you sure Ethan still wants to marry you? The words hit like a physical blow. What are you talking about? I'm saying you should pay attention. Stella's been spending quite a lot of time with him lately. My hands trembled. Are you helping her steal my fiancé? Don't be absurd. But Victoria wouldn't meet my eyes. I'm simply saying you have 63 days to make sure Ethan doesn't change his mind. She left. I sat in the empty conference room, staring at that announcement, and understood. My own mother was hedging her bets. Chapter 4. River Vaughn, A. I first saw River Vaughn 3 weeks before the engagement party, at a charity auction where Ashford Corporation was sponsoring. More accurately, I saw him punch someone. The victim was Preston Walshold Money, city council connections, the kind of man who thought his last name meant he could grab women without consequences. He'd cornered a young server, hand on her waist, ignoring her obvious discomfort. Then a tall figure in a black suit appeared, grabbed Preston by the collar, and drove his fist into Preston's face with brutal efficiency. The ballroom erupted into chaos. I stood frozen, watching as security guards rushed forward, then stopped when they recognized the attacker. "That's River Vaughn," someone whispered nearby. "Don't get involved, he's insane." I knew the name. Everyone in our circles did. River Vaughn, heir to Vaughn Industries, notorious for his violent temper, the boy who'd nearly killed his father at 16 after kicking his pregnant mistress down the stairs. His family had covered it up, but the rumors persisted. He was dangerous, unstable, everything polite, society whispered about in scandalized tones. He was also the most arresting person I'd ever seen. Not handsome like Ethan Rivers' features were too sharp for classical beauty, his energy too raw. Dark hair that looked deliberately messy, eyes that reflected the chandelier light like a predator's, a jawline that could cut glass. He moved like violence barely contained. Preston staggered up, nose bleeding. "You broke my fucking nose. Touch another girl without permission, I'll break more than that." River's voice was cold, utterly unrepentant. Then his gaze swept the crowd and stopped on me. For 3 seconds, the world narrowed to those dark, intense eyes. Something electric passed between us, recognition without context. He smiled slowly, a dangerous curve of his mouth. Then security ushered him out, and the moment broke. "Jesus!" Joyce appeared at my elbow. "Did you see that? River Vaughn is absolutely unhinged." "Yeah," I said faintly. Unhinged. But as the auction continued and Preston was escorted to the hospital, I couldn't stop replaying that smile, or noticing that River had defended someone who couldn't defend herself. Just like Ethan once defended me. Chapter 5, 40 Days. The engagement announcement went out with my name, but the damage was done. Over the next 3 weeks, I watched Stella systematically insert herself into every aspect of my relationship. She joined our dinner plans. She texted Ethan about venue emergencies that required his immediate input. She posted photos of them together, always innocent, always with captions like, "helping my sister," but strategically timed when I was working late. And Ethan let her. Worse, he seemed to prefer her company to mine. "You're paranoid," Joyce said when I confessed my suspicions over lunch. "Ethan's marrying you. The invitations are already printed. Then why does he look at her the way he used to look at me?" Joyce hesitated. "Maybe you're projecting. You've been stressed with the merger. The merger finalized last week. Then maybe," she chose her words carefully, "maybe you should ask yourself if you're happy. Not about Stella, about Ethan." I stared at my untouched salad. I've loved him for 6 years. That's not what I asked. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. "Ethan, can you meet me? Important." My heart raced. Finally. Maybe he'd noticed the distance too. Maybe he wanted to fix it. Me? Of course. Where? Ethan. My office. Now. I arrived 20 minutes later, hope fluttering stupidly in my chest. Ethan stood by the window, backlit by the setting sun. Still so beautiful it hurt to look at him. "Thanks for coming," he said without turning. "Ethan, I've been wanting to talk. I feel like we've been disconnected lately, and I want to postpone the engagement party." The words hit like a punch. "What?" He finally turned, and his expression was distant. "Professional. Just by a few months. Give us time to make sure this is right." "Make sure?" I couldn't breathe. "Ethan, we've been together for 6 years. We're getting married in 40 days. What are you talking about?" That's exactly the problem. He moved closer, but it felt like he was pulling away. 6 years, and I'm not sure I really know you anymore. You've changed, Ivy. You're always working, always focused on the company. I need a partner who's present. I'm present. I've been present for 6 years. I gave up dance for you, learned business for you, became everything you needed. That's what I mean. You gave up too much, and now I don't know if the person you became is someone I can build a life with. The room tilted. Is this about Stella? Something flickered in his eyes. This is about us. That's not an answer. Ivy. His voice softened, which somehow made it worse. I care about you, but I need time to figure out if what we have is enough. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, to ask when my 6 years of devotion had become not enough. Instead, I heard myself say, "How much time?" "I don't know." And there it was, the truth beneath the careful words. Ethan Lancaster was keeping his options open. Chapter 6. Breaking Point. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I drove aimlessly, ending up at the waterfront where I'd spent hours as a teenager, watching the sunset and imagining a future where Ethan Lancaster could love someone like me. The girl I'd been at 16 seemed impossibly naive now. My phone buzzed constantly. Victoria, Marcus. Stella, whose texts were perfectly sympathetic. Heard about the postponement. I'm here if you need me. I turned it off. The sun set. The air turned cold. I sat on a concrete barrier, staring at the water, and let myself admit the truth. I'd wasted 6 years on a man who'd never really seen me. You know, sitting alone by the water at night is how people end up on true crime podcasts. I jerked around. River Vaughn stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. He wore all black, again seemed to be his signature, and somehow looked completely at ease in this industrial wasteland. "Are you following me?" I asked. "Nah, I own the building behind you. Came to check on a property issue and saw you sitting here looking like you were contemplating drowning." I wasn't. Good. Drowning's a terrible way to go. He moved closer, studying me with those intense, dark eyes. "You're Ivy Ashford. How do you—" "Everyone knows everyone in our circles. Plus, I saw you at the charity auction." A pause. "You were wearing red. Looked bored out of your mind." I was surprised he'd noticed. "I was working." "At a party?" It was an Ashford-sponsored event. "Everything's work." River made a non-committal sound, then shocked me by sitting on the barrier beside me. Not close enough to touch, but close enough that I caught his scent something expensive and cedar-like. "So, what brings Ivy Ashford to the murder district at night? Bad day? Bad 6 years." The words slipped out before I could stop them. River laughed a real, surprised sound. "That specific? My engagement party is in 40 days. Except my fiancé just asked to postpone it because he's not sure he knows me anymore." I stared at the water. Apparently 6 years of devotion isn't enough. Sounds like he's an idiot. He's Ethan Lancaster. Doesn't make him less of an idiot. River leaned back, tilting his face toward the sky. "Let me guess. You rearranged your entire life for him, and now he's confused why you're not the girl he originally met?" I turned sharply. "How did you—" "Because that's what people like Ethan Lancaster do. They want women to change for them, then punish them for changing." His voice held an edge. "And they always have a backup option waiting." The truth of it burned. "My half-sister," I admitted quietly. "She's been positioning herself, and my parents are letting her. Family treating you like a consolation prize. Fiancé keeping his options open. River met my eyes. Rough day." Something about his tone in it, pitying, just matter-of-fact made me laugh. A broken, slightly hysterical sound. "Sorry, I managed." "This is pathetic." "I'm pathetic." "Nah, pathetic would be going back and begging him to reconsider. You're sitting by the water, reconsidering your life choices. That's actually pretty healthy." I studied him. "Why are you being nice to me?" River's expression shifted, something vulnerable, flickering beneath the dangerous exterior. "Because 6 years ago, I watched a girl get bullied by rich kids who thought they were better than her. She didn't fight back, didn't cry, just quietly cleaned her uniform and kept going." He paused, and I thought, that girl shouldn't have to endure that alone. My breath caught. "You remember that?" "I remember thinking you deserved better." He stood abruptly, like he'd revealed too much. "Anyway, don't drown. Would be a waste." He started to walk away. "River?" He stopped, looking back. "Thank you for this." His smile was different this time. Softer. "Anytime, Ivy Ashford." He disappeared into the darkness, leaving me alone with the water and a strange, fluttering feeling in my chest that had nothing to do with Ethan Lancaster. Chapter 7. The Game Changes. The next morning, I woke to 17 missed calls. I checked my phone with a sinking feeling, most from Victoria, several from Marcus, 3 from Stella, and 1 from Ethan. The most recent voicemail was from my mother. "Ivy, call me immediately. The situation has changed." I dialed back. Victoria answered on the first ring. Finally, where have you been? Thinking, what's the situation? Ethan's had a change of heart. He wants to move forward with the engagement party as planned. Relief flooded through me. Really? Yes. He called this morning, said he'd been hasty, that postponing was a mistake. Her tone held something odd. Isn't that wonderful? It should have been. But as I got ready for work, that conversation with River kept replaying. They always have a backup option waiting. What if Ethan's change of heart had nothing to do with me? I got my answer 3 days later. Joyce burst into my office, face pale. Ivy, you need to see this. She handed me her phone. The top gossip blog, the one that covered our social circle shad, posted photos from last night's charity gala. I hadn't attended. I'd been finalizing contracts. The images showed Ethan and Stella at the gala. Nothing overtly inappropriate, but the way he looked at her, the way her hand rested on his arm. The caption beneath. Lancaster heir getting close with Ashford's sister, but which one is he marrying? I set down the phone carefully. Ivy, say something. I need to talk to Ethan. I called him immediately. He answered on the fourth ring, sounding distracted. Ivy, I'm in a meeting. Did you take Stella to the gala last night? Silence. You said you had work, he said finally. Stella mentioned she had an invitation, and I thought, you thought you'd take my sister as your date. It wasn't like that. We ran into each other, decided to share a car. Ethan, stop lying. My voice was ice. Did you postpone the engagement because you wanted to see if Stella was a better option? And when you decided she was, you moved it back up? You're being paranoid. Answer the question. More silence? I care about you, Ivy, but Stella, she understands me in ways you don't. She's softer, more present. We're done talking. I hung up. Joyce stared at me. What are you going to do? Good question. The smart move was to confront him publicly, expose Stella, make sure everyone knew the truth. But I'd spent 6 years being smart, being strategic, enduring, and where had it gotten me? Joyce, clear my schedule for the afternoon. Where are you going? I grabbed my bag. To make a terrible decision. Chapter 8. The terrible decision. I found River at Vanity, the upscale restaurant Joyce had mentioned he owned. He was in his office, reviewing paperwork, looking completely incongruous in the elegant space, with his dangerous energy barely contained by the expensive suit. He glanced up when I walked in, surprise flickering across his features. Ivy Ashford, you slumming it in my establishment? I need a favor. River leaned back, studying me with those dark, perceptive eyes. What kind of favor? The kind that makes Ethan Lancaster regret every decision he's made for the past 3 weeks. A slow smile spread across his face. I'm listening. I took a breath. My engagement party is in 10 days. Ethan's planning to break up with me publicly and announce his engagement to my sister instead. And you know this how? Because my mother inadvertently confirmed it this morning when she told me to be understanding about some difficult news that would be announced at the party. I moved closer. They think I'll just accept it, smile and pretend it doesn't destroy me. Will you? No. The word came out sharp. Final. I want to walk into that party with someone who makes Ethan lose his mind. Someone who makes my family realize they underestimated me. River's eyes darkened. And you think I'm that someone? I think you hate Ethan as much as I do. I think you like making powerful people uncomfortable. And I hesitated. I think you see me. The air between us felt charged. What exactly are you asking for, Ivy? Be my date to the engagement party. Make it very clear we're together. And when Ethan announces his relationship with Stella, I met River's gaze. I want him to know I moved on first. River stood, moving around the desk until he was close enough that I had to tilt my head back to maintain eye contact. You want to use me for revenge? Yes. And after? When you've gotten your revenge and made your point? I haven't thought that far ahead. Liar. His voice was soft. You've thought 3 steps ahead your entire life. So what happens to me after I'm useful? The question felt like a test. I don't know, I admitted, but I promise I won't waste your time. River studied me for a long moment. Then, I'll do it, on one condition. What? After the party, you give me a real chance. Not as revenge, not as a strategy. Actually get to know me and decide if you want me around. My heart stuttered. Why? Because I've been watching you for 6 years, and I'm tired of pretending I don't give a damn. The honesty in his voice stole my breath. River, Don't answer now. Just think about it. He stepped back, the vulnerability vanishing behind his usual dangerous smile. So, your engagement party. What's the plan? Part 2. The Long Game. Chapter 9. Preparation. Over the next 10 days, River Vaughn became a constant presence in my life. Not overwhelming, not intrusive, just there. He texted me good morning, not romantic messages, just coffee or tea today, with photos of his breakfast. He showed up at Ashford Corporation with lunch when Joyce mentioned I'd skipped meals. He sent me articles about business strategy with notes like, "Thought you'd find this interesting," that proved he actually read them. And somehow, without meaning to, I started looking forward to his presence. "You're smiling at your phone," Joyce observed during a meeting. "That's new." I quickly set it down. River sent a meme about corporate bureaucracy. Uh-huh. And you smiled because it's hilarious, not because River Vaughn makes you smile. Joyce? I'm just saying the man is clearly into you, and you're clearly into him. Maybe this fake dating thing isn't so fake? I didn't have an answer for that. The engagement party was 3 days away when River invited me to his penthouse. "Need to make sure we're convincing," he said over the phone. "Can't have people thinking we just met." His home was surprisingly normal, expensive, yes, floor-to-ceiling windows, modern furniture, a view that cost more than most people's annual salary, but also lived in. Books scattered on the coffee table, a guitar in the corner, art that looked personally chosen rather than decorator-selected. "This doesn't match your reputation," I said. River handed me a glass of wine. "What reputation?" "Dangerous, unpredictable, the kind of guy who kicks pregnant women and nearly murders his father." His expression went carefully blank. "That what people say?" "Yes. And you believe it?" I met his eyes. "No. I think you protected yourself from someone who hurt you, and I think rumors are easier to spread than truth." Something shifted in River's expression walls crumbling. "My father's mistress wasn't pregnant," he said quietly. "That was his lie to make me look like a monster. She came after my mother with a knife. I pushed her off and she fell. The miscarriage was a fabrication to ruin my reputation." Fury burned in my chest. "Why didn't you correct the story?" "Because by the time I recovered from his beating, everyone believed his version. And I realized." He set down his wine. "People want to believe the worst, so I let them. Better to be feared than pitied." I moved closer, drawn by impulse. "I don't fear you. I know." His hand lifted, fingers brushing my cheek tentative, like he expected me to pull away. "That's why you're dangerous." My breath caught. Before I could overthink, I closed the distance and kissed him. River went still for half a heartbeat in, his hand slid into my hair, pulling me closer, kissing me back with an intensity that made my knees weak. This wasn't like kissing Ethan. Ethan had always been controlled, measured. River kissed like he was drowning, and I was air. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. "Ivy, if this is just for show." It's not. The truth felt terrifying and freeing. I don't know what this is, but it's not fake. River's smile was blinding. "Good. Because I'm not interested in fake." Chapter 10. The Engagement Party, Part I. The Ashford estate was transformed into an elegant dreamscape: white flowers, crystal chandeliers, string quartet playing softly. 200 guests circulated, champagne glasses catching the light. I arrived alone, deliberately late, wearing a dress I'd chosen without consulting anyone. Scarlet silk that clung to every curve, slid up to mid-thigh, back exposed. Hair down instead of the updo Ethan preferred. I looked like someone who'd stopped asking permission. Victoria rushed over immediately. "Ivy, where have you been? And what are you wearing?" "A dress." "That's not we discussed the ivory gown. You discussed it." I accepted champagne from a passing server. "I chose this." Marcus appeared, looking between us with growing alarm. "Ivy, we need to talk. There's been a development regarding the engagement." "I know." They both froze. "You know?" Victoria's face paled. "That Ethan's planning to announce his relationship with Stella instead of me?" "Yes. I figured it out days ago." I smiled coldly. "Did you really think I wouldn't notice?" Marcus actually looked ashamed. "Ivy, we didn't want to hurt you, so you let me walk into my own humiliation instead? Very considerate." "We had no choice," Victoria hissed. "Stella threatened to hurt herself if she couldn't be with Ethan. What were we supposed to do?" Not sacrifice your other daughter? I suggested. Or is that too radical? Stella appeared then, looking ethereal in what I realized with sick certainty was meant to be my wedding dress, the one I'd chosen 6 months ago. She smiled sweetly. Ivy, you look bold. Not quite appropriate for an engagement party, but bold. Well, it's not my engagement party anymore, is it? Her mask slipped for just a second, surprise that I knew. Then Ethan emerged from the crowd, looking devastating in his tailored suit, moving to stand beside Stella with an ease that confirmed everything. Ivy, he said quietly, we need to talk privately before you publicly humiliate me. I took a sip of champagne. I don't think so. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Harder for whom exactly? The guests were starting to notice the tension. Conversations quieted. Ethan's expression hardened. I'm trying to be respectful. By stealing my engagement party to announce you're dating my sister? Very respectful. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Victoria grabbed my arm. Ivy, stop making a scene. I'm making a scene? I laughed bitterly. You orchestrated this entire betrayal, and I'm the problem? Then perfect timing, the crowd parted. River Vaughn walked through like he owned the place, devastating in all black, exuding danger and complete confidence. Every eye turned to him. He stopped beside me, and his arm slid around my waist with an possessive ease that made my stomach flutter. Sorry I'm late, baby. He kissed my temple, then looked at Ethan with cold mockery. Lancaster, didn't realize you'd be here. Thought this was Ivy's party. Chapter 11, The Engagement Party, Part 2. Ethan's face drained of color. What is he doing here?